call this meeting of the Board of Adjustment, the first of 2023, to order. Can we have a roll call, please?
John Moreland.
Here.
Owen Curley.
Here.
Alexi Gonzalez.
Here.
Jeff Trular.
Here.
Todd Smith.
Here.
Jennifer Williams.
Here. Thank you. The Board of Adjustment meetings are quasi-judicial in nature. All decisions of the board will be based on competent, substantial evidence, including testimony provided in this meeting. Any person who is not an applicant or agent, but who wishes to speak, will need to fill out a speaker's card located on the side table by the door and turn them into the clerk. Each member of the public will be given 3 minutes to speak on each item once we open the public hearing. Please refrain from speaking from the audience, and applause or cheering will not be allowed. Lastly, please silence your cell phones. If everybody's had a chance to review the meeting minutes from our December 20th meeting, I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve the meeting minutes from the December 20th, 2022 meeting. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. The minutes from the December 20th meeting have been approved. Is there any correspondence?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Moving on to old business, which I believe was the case deferred from our last meeting. Can we call the first case of old business, please?
Board calls BOA 22-100131. Property address 1103 15th Avenue North. Motion to consider 34-336 E1E for lot coverage of 44.3% in lieu of 35% maximum, to allow for the addition of a new rear patio to an existing single-family dwelling.
Thank you. As a reminder, each member of the public will be given 3 minutes to speak once we open the public hearing. Does any board member have ex parte communication on this item?
I've had none. I've had none. I've had none.
I've had none.
And I've had none. Would the applicant or agent please come forward to be sworn in and give your testimony? And you can be sworn in by the clerk.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Please each state your name and address.
My name is Kevin Fitzgerald, 13602 Mount Pleasant Road, Jacksonville, Florida.
My name is Robert Sherman, 1103 15th Avenue North, Jacksonville Beach, Florida.
Thank you. And can you please tell us the nature of your hardship at this property?
The property is smaller than most of the other ones. I had a new rear patio poured by Madewell Contracting. At that time, they looked up and found the variance of 43%. They said based on their calculations that they would stay within that variance. Later on, I wanted to further improve the property as it's a fairly small building and increase the outdoor living space with a patio cover. When we went to go and do a new survey for that, we found that Madewell had made an error and had actually poured it to 44%. So in order to be within compliance and to proceed with the patio covering, we have to get the variance updated.
So you're already at 44. You're not planning to go above 44.
No,
it's
no,
just
yeah, I just want to prevent demolition. I just put that stuff in.
right. Any questions of the applicant?
I've none.
All right. You can be seated for now, and I will open the public hearing. Do we have any speakers cards on this item?
No speaker cards.
Is there anyone in the audience who has not filled out a speaker's card but who wishes to speak at this time? And if so, please fill out a speaker's card before you leave. Hearing none, I will now close the public hearing and bring the item back to the board for discussion. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve BOA 22-100131. Based on the testimony and evidence provided, the request is met on the standards for a variance as outlined in section 34-286 of the Land Development Code. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Pretty standard, non-conforming lot.
Yeah, and the perspective that the staff analysis provides that the increase is only about 100 square feet. Just kind of puts in perspective how undersized the lot is, that it bumps it up that much in percentage, but is really not that much of an addition. Any further discussion? Can we have a roll call vote, please?
John Moreland,
Yes.
Owen Curley,
Yes.
Jeff Trular,
Yes.
Todd Smith,
Yes.
Alexi Gonzalez.
Yes, your request has been approved. Moving on to new business. Can we call the first case of new business, please?
Board calls BOA 22-100094, property address 10th Street South. Motion to consider 34-338E1C2 for combined side yard setback of 10 feet 8 inches in lieu of 15 feet minimum, and 34-338E1E for lot coverage of 40% in lieu of 35% maximum to allow for construction of a new single-family dwelling with rear patio.
Thank you. As a reminder, each member of the public will be given 3 minutes to speak once we open the public hearing. Does any board member have any ex parte communication on this item?
I've had none.
Had none.
I've had none.
Had none.
And I've had none. Would the applicant or agent please come forward to be sworn in and give your testimony?
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and your address.
Seth Heitzman, 6917 Southwest Highway 47, Lake City, Florida.
Thank you. Can you please tell us the nature of the hardship at this property?
It's a small, non-conforming lot, so we're looking to get the variance for the side setbacks and the lot coverage.
Thank you. Any questions of the applicant?
Have you talked to your neighbors or the neighbors?
He owns the adjacent lot. If you're facing from the street, he owns the lot to the left. And, I don't know if you talked to the neighbors on the right at all.
I see that there are, there's a plan to put pervious pavers in for the driveway, and then it looks like a 10 by 10 patio in the back.
Correct, yeah, to get our lot coverage down.
And will that provide a sufficient amount of outdoor living space?
It should, yeah.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Yeah.
All right, you can be seated, and for now, and I will open the public hearing. Do we have any speakers cards?
We have one speaker card, but it's from the person who just
Gotcha. Is there anyone in the audience who has not filled out a speaker's card who wishes to speak on this item? Hearing none, I will now close the public hearing and bring the item back to the board for discussion. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve BOA 22-100094. Based on the testimony and evidence provided, the request has met all the standards for variance as outlined in section 34-286 of the Land Development Code. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Pretty reasonable now, looking at it.
Doesn't seem to be reaching for more than they really need.
No, it's a very minimal request for how undersized the lot is. My only concern with requests like this, not this one specifically, is when they kind of max out the development and then, 2 years later, whoever buys this house or whoever is living in the house comes back wanting to put in a big patio and a pool, but frankly, with the limited amount of space that they're asking to cover on the property, even with some small additions, it would still be a pretty minimal overage. Any further discussion? Hearing none, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Owen Curley,
Yes.
Jeff Trular,
Yes.
Todd Smith,
Yes.
John Moreland,
Yes.
Alexi Gonzalez.
Yes. Your request has been approved. Can we call the last case, please?
Board calls BOA 22-100139, property address 34 Avenue South. Motion to consider 34-336 E1C1 for a front yard setback of 19 feet in lieu of 25 feet minimum, 34-336 E1C2 for an east and west side yard setbacks of 8 feet in lieu of 10 feet minimum, and 34-336 E1E for lot coverage of 49%
As a reminder, each member of the public will be given 3 minutes to speak once we open the public hearing. Does any board member have any ex parte communication on this item?
I've had none.
I've had none.
I've had none?
And I've had none. Would the applicant or agent please come forward to be sworn in and give your testimony?
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please each state your name and address.
Khalil Farah. At 604 9th Avenue South, Jacksonville Beach, Florida.
Thank you. Can you tell us the nature of your hardship at this property?
The lot is undersized for the lots in the area.
Any questions for the applicant?
Just through the chair, the request for 19 feet in lieu of 25, and there's a past approval for 17 feet. Why does it come back to this?
I can sort of explain that. There's been a previous variance on the property. It was approved only as to the plans that were
As
brought.
plans submitted?
Yeah, and so we didn't want to build those plans. So we're actually asking for less than the previous variance.
Any other questions?
Have you talked to any of the neighbors?
We talked to all of them over the last week, explained to them our plans, and they all texted us wishing us luck.
All right.
Right. You can be seated for now, and I will open the public hearing. Do we have any speakers cards?
We have 3 speakers cards. First one is Kern.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and your address.
My name is Ann Kern. I live at 3409 First Street South, Jacksonville Beach. I am the owner of a house located next to the property that is being the subject of this variance. My house was built in 1957 and I have owned it since 1987. The newer houses on each side of my property are on a higher grade than my house. Each time there is a heavy rain, the subject property overflows into my driveway. After a recent heavy rain, my driveway was flooded with more than 12 inches of rainwater as a result of the subject property having many low spots. I was assured by the city of Jacks Beach that after the residence in question has been built, the water overflow will not be a problem. If in fact this proves to be untrue, as a senior citizen on a fixed income, I will not be able to afford to fight City Hall or the owners of the new residence. I am asking the city of Jacksonville Beach to protect my property against flooding after the subject house has been constructed. They are asking for an 8-foot cross from my property, and I think that is too close. Also, the owner stated that it is an undersized lot. I've been looking at that lot for 35 years, and I suggest he build a smaller house to fit the lot without a variance. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. And call the next speaker, please.
Don Stokes.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and your address.
Don Stokes, E. Donald Stokes, 50 34th Avenue South, Jacks Beach. You have a picture of my house on the wall. And I'd like to point out that the subject property now is asking for approval to move closer to 34th Avenue than the houses on either side. Now from my downstairs, I can see down the block where there is an access site. And what's on the other side of the access site? The Atlantic Ocean. I have ocean view from my house. We put that black line there, I'm going to be looking at the side of that house, not is going to impact negatively on my property value if you approve that reduced setback. Now, the second factor that should be of very key interest to anyone in Jack's Beach is ground coverage. What happens when we have a storm? What does the ground do? It absorbs the water. That's why we have a law that says 35% maximum ground coverage. They want to go up to 49%. That's going to reduce, that's a 40% increase in the ground coverage, which is going to be a 40% reduction in the amount of water absorbed into the ground. Now, the ocean is just off the picture there to the right, and we need as much absorption of inflow water as possible. We don't need more cement. We have a limit of 35%. Why would we want to go over that? That lot, and I request anybody wants to look it up on the city site, that is the largest lot in the neighborhood. There is no deficiency to that lot. That lot extends from 34th Avenue, past my property, past Nancy's property, back to the next property line at the bottom of that black square. There is no lot in the neighborhood larger than that one. So when we say we're going to increase the ground coverage to almost half, it's on the largest chunk of land that's in the neighborhood. So we're going to maximize the negative impact on water absorption. So both from the standpoint, I mean, why do we have 35% coverage max set as a city standard? Because somebody said, well, that's a good number. And the point of the number, of having any number, is to make sure we've got ground coverage. And as you can see, the more you put coverage on the ground there, the less water that's going to be absorbed. And I will support Nancy's point. The first white roof on the top, you can see is 50. That's my house. The next one down is hers. And that water doesn't just flow into her driveway, as she was talking about. I've seen it standing in her garage. So, yeah, she's the worst victim of the floodwater. But the whole neighborhood is going to be subject to more flooding if you increase the ground coverage percentage. So I request that you deny this request for variance. And if you're going to review it, if you're going to approve it, then who's going to compensate me for my loss of ocean view? Is the board going to figure out how much my value of property is decreased and give me the cash to make up for it? I doubt it.
Thank you, sir. Your time has expired. Are there any other cards on this item?
Mr. Stokes had filled out 2 cards. So that's it.
Okay. Would the applicant like to, oh, I'm sorry, is there anyone else in the audience who's not filled out a speaker's card who wishes to speak on this item? Okay, if the applicant would like to come back, you're welcome to comment on any of the statements made during public comment.
Thank you. I just wanted to say to Mr. Stokes, I apologize. It's my understanding he was out of town when we did make our rounds to the neighbors. I was informed by the woman across who was house sitting that he had us on a cruise, but we did speak to the other neighbors. And I just want to point out that we are asking for less of a variance than what was previously approved. And I'm certainly sympathetic to the concerns about the view and everything else. And so we're trying to actually we're further from the road than the previous variance was if that house had been built.
Thank you. Any other questions for the applicant?
Well, I have a question for Christian, real quick. Is that true about the lot size? I mean, is it bigger than the other lots in the neighborhood?
Yes, it is true.
I'm just curious how we got through under those circumstances.
Well, I mean, the lot is substandard for the zoning district. We don't typically look at a comparison of all the lots on the block because each one is reviewed under its own requirements. This particular lot is.
To my understanding, this lot is 8,000 square feet, and the zoning requires a 10,000 square foot lot for that area.
Yeah. And all the houses kind of immediately adjacent would also be in the same zoning district, right? There aren't any that are.
Correct. I would say the ones to the west are all roughly 6,000 square feet or just under. The immediate one to the east is larger because it's on, go back here. This one, the property line follows the road, which actually comes out this way, so its square footage is larger than the lot in question.
Okay. Is there a reason the house has to be that far forward?
We have a setback, or we didn't want to have a setback in the backyard. And so it's going to intrude one way or another. And the previous variance, if you look at the application for the previous variance, it noted that the other lots on that road all were 19 feet back on the front variance. So we matched the other houses on the block. So we would all be lined up, that no house would be protruding further forward.
Okay, so you're saying yours will not be protruding further forward?
No, if you, and I know it's not part of our variance application, but the previous variance that was granted on the lot by the previous owners, they asked for 19 feet because 19 feet was in line with the other homes on the road. They actually asked for 17, so they asked for a little bit. We're 2 feet back from the other houses on the road.
All right.
And can, Christian, can you go to the, like, Google Earth view?
Yes.
So the black line is not where the home would begin, right? That's
No,
where
yeah, that's
property
the-
line is.
Not even that, that's the parcel line assigned by the property appraiser. It's typically very inaccurate. I wouldn't use that as a judgment of distance.
Okay, so if we're just kind of judging by the naked eye and we look to the houses on the left and the right, it would be approximately in line.
Yeah, that was my understanding from the way it was designed.
Okay,
None of those meet the 25-foot requirement.
all right. And are both of the, number 50 and number 3416, do they both have 34th Avenue frontages?
No, they front on First Street South. So they front to the west.
Number 50. So that's 50's backyard right there. Yeah, I guess I see the patio.
3416, I assume is the front yard.
Yes, 3416 faces 34.
Front yard is
Okay.
17 feet.
Okay.
3416 faces eastward. Front door is eastward.
Okay, so where they have that driveway, that's not the direction.
The front door is around the
On
corner
the corner, okay.
Front door's where?
on the east side.
So they put the
Even with that, I don't believe there's 25 feet between them and their property line. Correct.
Any other questions for the, or sorry, any other comments?
I was just going to say, I think I have the variance on my iPad, the previous variance, which shows the frontage on all the other streets, to show that 19 feet is actually going to have us a little bit back from the other homes.
I actually have a copy here, I'll pass it down.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
This
perfect.
section right there. Yeah, this denotes the other two addresses. There's that. So what it says is that the 3416 has a 15.4 setback, and then 3410 has 15 feet.
So we'll be 4 feet back from the homes next to us.
4 feet back further than one.
Correct, yes, sir.
Ask a question. I couldn't hear what addresses you were describing that had a smaller setback.
You can read it, it's the little, just mark the picture there.
Similar nearby variances, 3416 South Ocean Drive, and before I finish, I just want to remind the members of the audience that we have closed the public hearing, so we don't accept public comment beyond the public hearing, but 3416 South Ocean Drive, neighbor to east, 15.4-foot front setback in lieu of 25-foot, and then 3410 South Ocean Drive, 2 parcels east, 15-foot front setback in lieu of 25 feet. And while the rest of the board is glancing at that, does anybody else have any other questions for the applicant?
I don't know the other
Any final comments?
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
I will now close the public hearing and bring the item back to the board for discussion. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve POA 22-100139 based on the testimony and evidence provided. The request has met all the standards for a variance as outlined in section 34-286 Land Development Code.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I think he's trying to pull it back now. I made a comment, first when I saw the parking spots, I thought at first it was a little strange, but then I saw there's no parking there, so it's a good idea that they're adding the parking spaces, so just thoughtful design.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got mixed feelings. I walk by there probably 7 times a week. And there has been a significant flooding problem in that particular intersection and some of the adjacent ones. It's improved somewhat with the work that the city has done in the last year or so. But it is still common to find that there's water standing in the street and going up into the lot and so on. And so I suspect that that problem will only be made worse, even if it's only slightly worse, because of the fact that it's an ongoing problem that's been there for the whole time I've been doing my walks. The other thing that I think is, I had a great ocean view at my house when I first bought it. Unfortunately, I was able to have it for 11 years before somebody bought and built a very appropriate home, and I lost my ocean view. There's nothing in the land development code that says people are entitled to lifelong ocean views. So I've got kind of mixed reactions. There's some things about this that are going to aggravate a problem, but I think it certainly meets the criteria for having a adjustment to what the code says.
And through the chair, Christian, correct me if I'm right, but they will also require them to bounce out drains to the public works.
Between the Public Works Department and the Building Department, there will be a, what do you call it, a drainage plan that's required at the time of permitting. Both agencies potentially would review that. At a minimum, the Building Department. Some of that water may go to the backyard, some of it may go to the street, some of it may go to a swale. It'll just depend on how the project is designed.
Before it starts building.
Correct.
So it does not get reviewed before the building starts?
No, it's reviewed at the time that the plans are submitted, so prior to construction.
I also appreciate that they revised their plans and application and actually asked for a less intense variance than what had been previously approved in an effort to kind of stick with the character of the other homes on the street, going from 17 feet approved to 19. Any further discussion?
No.
Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Jeff Trular,
Yes.
Todd Smith,
Yeah.
John Moreland,
Yes.
Owen Curley,
Yes.
Alexi Gonzalez.
Yes. Your variance has been approved.
Thank you.
Moving on to the planning department report.
So a couple things. Your next meeting is going to be January 18th, which is a Wednesday. So mark your calendars for that. Also, we'll be planning to do elections that day, and I am not positive the city attorney may have some changes that she wants to propose as regards to our rules and regulations to address when the elections will actually be, sort of setting an exact meeting, because it's not outlined specifically in the code currently. And then on that day, I will not be here because I'm having cancer treatment. So you guys are on your own. But Sandy should be here, so I'll make sure she's aware.
Christian, is there any more training at all with our city attorney?
Yes, she's right now prioritizing the planning commission because they're kind of in the same stage you guys were.
Just in hindsight, listening to this case about the situation as plans, we spoke about this last time, I'd like to ask her about, as plans submitted prior, we want to carry that variance forward, so then when we talk about this, I'd like to have her question it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good point, because on that variance, it doesn't say as submitted.
That's, it says behind this, you just say yes. Shown discussed.
Mostly, it's shown and discussed.
Okay, so
We kind of took that from our verbiage and submitted. We did that to
Well, then-
example 17 and 19.
it gets into the whole land use issue.
I can't find the letter off the top of my head, but I mean, in essence, yes, if it's conditioned on what was submitted, then unless they can conform to that footprint, there's really not a way to move that forward with the property, because it's very specific to that site plan. Whereas tonight, we approved it, but if they decide to change the design, as long as it fits within those parameters, it can carry forward, or even the next owner, potentially. Because typically they run with the land in perpetuity, but when you get so specific in your conditions that it's tied to that site plan, there's not much we can do unless they choose to build that exact site plan.
And then I know it's a very long process and we won't have a finished product for quite some time, but is there any status update to report on the revision, the process of revising the land development code?
Yeah, so we've had all the initial public hearings where we took input from obviously the boards, council, public. The consultant right now is gathering additional data from us, from our permitting system and our GIS system. So they're preparing draft maps, and they're going to start preparing sort of not draft legislation, but like cohesive ideas to address the concerns that came up in those initial hearings and other problems staff has given them to look at. So starting, I believe in April, we're going to have another round of hearings that'll be kind of taking those issues and proposing how to fix them in the code. And then from there, we'll get more feedback from the various agencies and groups, and then they will spend probably the next 8 or 9 months actually putting together a draft code that'll then come through the public hearing process and a number of workshops with council. We've got a couple of specific workshops we're going to do with council on very specific issues like parking and potentially lot coverage and things like that. So as we get those scheduled, we'll let you guys know. So if you want to watch or attend, you can see what they're talking about. But obviously, these are kind of the known problems that we encountered a lot here. So we brought them up and have some ideas to present to them. So we're moving forward. It's kind of in the like number crunching phase. So one of the things we're doing that I think is really interesting is we've pulled 5 years worth of variance data from our permitting system, which includes what areas, what zonings have had the most variances, and then what the subject to those variances were, to kind of take an average and see, you know, if we've given out this many variances for this thing, do we want to make the code that? Or is there a good reason maybe we should be issuing variances for that? So that'll be one of kind of the heated topic discussions that we're going to have.
Will we get to see that video?
Yeah, I gave it to them in a raw format. They're going to be sorting through it, so.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah, I think it'll be good for everybody to see. I think it's going to be very eye-opening. But yeah, as soon as we have those meetings scheduled, I will pass them on to you guys so you can at least watch from home if you want.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other correspondence? If none, is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.